if you're originating in 2025, then what you better do is raise your game. The days of people throwing deals at you are over.
If you don't have the ability to change in any business right now, you probably shouldn't be in the business you're in.
People have always had to adapt. How long have you been adapting, Jeff?
36 years, 37 years.
I'm on this podcast with man.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, guys, welcome back. We got my little funky music playing here. So good with that. So listen, it's a special episode that we're doing of Laugh, Let, and Eat. It's not our normal episode, but I think you guys can handle it. I have one of our newest producing managers on this episode with me. His name is Taylor Allgyer. Taylor, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Bobby.
How'd you like that intro? That good? I get you pumped up?
Did you come up with that one?
No, actually, Adil did. He does all the stuff for this. I'm not that creative anymore.
That's awesome.
I wish I was, man. It's a lot. It takes a lot of effort to put together just a 20-second little intro clip like that. I mean, that was literally like almost 6 months worth of work there.
Wow.
Because you got to go through figure out which clips are cool enough to actually be in there.
Got
and
it.
then he found this one with Barry saying, 2000, and it was like, hey, that's the perfect one for the season because we're going to be in 2025 now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it worked well. So Taylor, how you liking I know we had it's kind of an interesting timing. We had just had our little round table this afternoon or morning where you got to talk to all the department heads about what's right and what's wrong at homecomings. It's kind of interesting. That's the first time I think they've actually done something like that. How was that for you?
It was interesting. It's nice to be able to give a little bit of feedback on how stuff's going for the first 45 days. Everything's been pretty good, but I mean, there were a couple little things that I thought that they might be able to help out with and make things a little more streamlined or easier, which is everybody was pretty good about taking the suggestions and stuff like that and running with it. So I liked it.
You know what's interesting is people always ask for a seat at the table. You've heard that line before? Like, hey, you'll have a seat at the table, right?
Yeah.
And so often, we'll give people a seat at the table and they have nothing to say when you ask them.
Right.
But they wanted a seat at the table. You're like, well, hold on. Why do you want a seat at the table? Just to tell all your friends you got a seat at the table?
Right. I could see that.
So it is interesting. So listen, you came from a company. I don't know if we want to mention the name or not. I don't care. If you want to mention, you can. If they want to sue me, they'll sue me, whatever. I'll deal with it. They got to take a ticket at this point. Get in line. As a friend of mine said who went through multiple divorce, that his latest ex-wife will get half of half of half of half.
Not much. Make a lot of money.
So that's what I feel like right now with my lawsuits with these companies. So you came over from a mortgage company that was a corporate-based model. And I say corporate model because Homecomings is a P&L model. We do offer corporate-based, but most of our branches are P&L models. And so obviously that was a little bit of a culture shock, I would think, a little bit of eye-opening. And it's only been 45 days, so there's so much more that you probably haven't even picked up on.
Right. Yeah. Learning something new every day.
Yeah. And you were at the last company, and I got to say this because this was pretty remarkable when we started recruiting you, right? Like on and off for about 30 years.
Yeah. Close to over 25 for sure. Yeah.
25 for sure. So it wasn't like you make decisions easily.
Bobby, I started there after I've been in the business for a couple of years, and I stayed forever. And I got recruited away to sort of run a mortgage company in-house mortgage company for a real estate franchise with 20 branches. Mm-hmm. And that didn't really work out the way I expected it to. And I probably stayed too long. I was there for 3 years and went back to first place I was at where I felt comfortable and kind of felt like I was going home. Mm-hmm. And I gave it back there for about 5 years now before you guys called me.
Yeah. But once again, I mean, it's like we're talking about this a few days ago, right? At least I think it was you, where when we call on candidates, for recruiting calls, especially the first call, right? It's the two responses, right? I'm not really looking to make a move, and no company's perfect.
Right.
Right. I believe you said the first one. I think you said, "Hey, I'm not really looking to make a move right now." And that's fine. That's Because
That's my standard answer. Yeah, I'm getting recruiting calls every day still.
how many recruiting calls do you think you? Well, I mean, so how many are you getting?
10 a week at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the 10 calls. So let's just dive into this for a second. The 10 calls you are getting, and you're being polite, like I am. Like I say, hey, I'll talk, right? A couple of minutes and just see what's about, right? But they don't normally go anywhere.
No.
Like something feels weird, or the recruiters. I told you the story of this. I don't want to go into that story, right? But
Yeah.
it was just like mea culpa or something in 3
Really?
minutes.
Yeah. No. So I mean, like you're saying, I kind of had a canned response was, hey, look, I'm very happy where I am. I mean, literally started working there when I was like 25 years old. I mean, it's like I grew up there.
Yeah.
I spent, more than half my life working for this company.
Right.
And I tell people I left once before I came back. I'm not looking to make a move. And the person who contacted me, I just something about the way she was just presenting it and saying, it's no pressure, but this isn't a lateral move. It's a different opportunity. And could I at least set up a phone call? It was pretty simple, but she was persuasive, but gently persuasive. But whatever it was, she got me to say, okay, reluctant.
It was interesting because I was just talking to one of my mentors, and he was we're on LinkedIn, and he was congratulating me on 31 years of business, blah, blah, blah. And I said, Mariano, I'm so glad that when your recruiter called me, I said yes to the phone call that date. And I don't remember why I said yes to her phone call, but especially back in those years, I was getting heavily recruited, right?
Right.
But it was something about her voice and something about her name. I couldn't figure out what her name was. So I kept listening to find out what her name was, I think. That was, And then whatever she started saying, I was like, okay. And I will say one thing. We need to back up one step.
Yeah.
Similar to you, I was very frustrated with the bank I was at that time. They were taking about 65, 70 days to close a loan, which was just ridiculous. Yeah, it was just like I was pulling my hair out. You know what I mean? And so I was frustrated when she called. So I do remember that.
I mean, I think when I got the recruiting call, I was frustrated about dealing with something with underwriting, but this is part of the business. It's just
right.
They sometimes a little adversarial relationship there, but I mean, there was nothing really big. It was just she just caught me at the right time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll listen.
That's really it. So let's move forward to where we are now, right? So you're working with us. You kind of like begin to see this P&L model. And I know that you're still uncovering it because we have our calls and we, I talk about on a regular basis about P&L models and stuff like that. But I mean, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, when you now look at that model, because you were just sitting at my desk just about like 20 minutes ago, right? There was a smile on your face.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, it was undeniable. There was a smile on your face.
Today's a good day.
Right. So I mean, this P&L model seems to be working well for you.
So far, yeah, no complaints at all.
What do you think? Like, what's the biggest thing that you've seen as? I always say this. What's the biggest upside of having your own P&L model?
I mean, right off the bat, just the first thing, even if I didn't bring in other people to work under me, is that it's like my branch, right? And I get more control over what I can do with the loans and how much more I can affect my own pricing and stuff like that. And there's no, it's fully transparent. I know what the branch is making on every loan.
Yeah. What about like when you do bring in other people, like you've had, obviously you got a hire starting next week, potentially 2, right?
Yeah.
Could be more, right? Coming along the way. I mean, it's a pretty good clip that you're on.
Yeah. I'm laying the groundwork. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all we can do. Right. And so what does that look like? I mean, and I know you haven't had a chance to really work out the perform on that, but I mean, what does that potentially look like as far as having a P&L and then being able to support other loan officers underneath you?
It's big. It's kind of unlimited, right? So, it's kind of exciting just being able to bring people in and, either collaborate with them if they've been in the business for a long time and, learn some things from them, or people like the person I just offered a job to today as a loan officer. She's relatively new in the business, but did a lot of business last year. 50% more than the average loan officer in the country last year, and she was only working for 6 months. She's got some unique challenges. She'd like to learn to do some other kinds of loans and stuff like that. She's primarily been focusing on VA stuff.
Mhm.
And she was working for a broker, and they didn't have access to some of the local programs that we have to help people out and stuff like that on top of VA. So there's a lot that I can teach her and share with her and, help her grow her business as I grow my business. And I'm really excited about that. I mean, it's kind of cool to be able to mentor somebody that way, and also have my business grow because of it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, man. I mean, you used the word transparency a little while ago.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, it's one of those words in this industry that I'm always wondering, like, I don't mean to push back on that word, right? But it does seem like a cliche-ish word. You know what I mean? Like people always say, it's like, oh, we're a big happy family. It's like, no, I don't need another family, man. I've already got 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and it's enough, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I was at that other company for so long, it felt like family. I mean, we do a company trip every year, and it's people I've known since I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little before that. I don't know. And yeah, I mean, it felt like a family. It was very hard to leave.
Yeah.
And I almost felt like I was letting some people down that, had put their faith and trust in me for so long.
Yeah. I'm sure that must have been tough, man. That's a tough emotional entanglement.
It's still hard. I mean, it's still hard not, seeing all those people all the time. But the thing is, when you're working for a regular mortgage company or a bank or something like that, you don't really know what the real pricing is. You just know what you're getting, your commission split. So you have to go and ask for help to cut a loan to match. You're in competition with somebody and say, well, I can do this, but I can't do that. And that's too much. I can't do that. And you just don't know what's really there. And it's funny because when I first started in the business in 1992, so it's almost it was 33 years ago.
Yeah.
I worked for a broker banker that was both. And, I got everybody's rate sheets every day. So I knew exactly how much I was making a loan, how much the company was making on the loan. And we would, add back things like service release premium and stuff like that. So I knew exactly what the margins were. And, I don't think there's that transparency with most companies anymore. I certainly haven't had it for a long time, for 30 years, where what the company's making, and they just say, well, we can't cut that much for you because we won't make any money then. And I don't know if that's the case or not.
Right. And I think every company has different margins. I think it's fair to say that. Like some companies may have higher margins than Homecomings has, and some companies may have lower margins than we have.
Right.
It's just you have to find that place where you fit in and you feel like you have a competitive edge.
Yeah. And before it was just like you felt like, okay, so I didn't know if they were, they said, we can't cut anymore. I said, why? I didn't know why. I mean, were they actually going to lose money on the loan if they cut a point or something like that?
Yeah.
Or, and I think it was almost like they couldn't, I couldn't make the argument for the bigger picture, right? Like, hey, I'm making I'm not cutting anything on these 4 loans, but I need to cut a point on this one. Maybe we'll lose money on that one, but you're still making money on these other 4. So you're still making money. You're still making a lot of money from me, but you're not giving me the opportunity to close that one loan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you have a little bit, or not have as high of a margin as you want, or what? I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Do you think that transparency in the P&L model, or at least let's just say Homecoming's P&L model, because I can't speak for other lenders, and I don't want to speak for other lenders, right? I just want to talk about us. Is in the Homecoming's P&L model, like you're kind of seeing more than I guess you've seen in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Right. So you're kind of saying, okay, this is like I can go as low as this, and I can still make a little bit for the branch. I mean, I make as much for myself, like you just said, right? I can lose a little bit of money on one deal, but make it up on 4 deals.
Yeah. Or not even make it up, just make regular split on the 4. So it's okay if you lose one, because you're not going to lose, to me, it was always like, if I lost a deal and there was a realtor involved, that's harming that relationship, because I can't be as competitive as somebody else was sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm potentially losing that relationship forever because of a loan. I'm like, is it worth, and I don't know what it was. I mean, was the company going to lose $500 to close that loan? Or were they not going to make as much as they were making and they just didn't want to do it, or what? But I mean, this way I know what I can do, still remain profitable, but still try to get as much as we can, every loan closed, where I gave up a lot of loans in the past just because
I mean,
I
I
wasn't
gotta
able to.
ask though, Taylor. I mean, you would think with someone who's been in the company for as long as you had, right? Like you, they would have like tried to make sure that you got every single deal closed, right? I mean, and I don't mean to look. I've never said this to you before, right? In any private conversation, but it just kind of hit me when you were saying this. Like, hold on, if Taylor's been with me for 25, 30 years, don't I want to just give him the benefit of the doubt? Like, dude, do whatever you got to do to make a deal happen.
Yeah, I mean, do you think? I mean, and there was a lot of that. Like, we can help you because you don't take hits all the time
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But it
All right.
just
So they
seemed like
weren't doing that.
sometimes go ahead and let me take that hit. It's because I know you're still going to make money on it, and this is what I need to keep that relationship solid with my agent, who
Yeah.
sends me 10 deals a year or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something though. Let's pivot a little bit, right? Before you walked into the P&L model, did you have an understanding of what a P&L model was?
Not at all.
So someone with your experience, I mean, this is another part that right? We got to talk about it, right? Because I remember this.
Yeah. No, not at all.
When I first started showing the pro forma, you were like silent for a couple of seconds looking at the numbers. And so it was like, okay, so what's going on here? Did I screw up? I'm thinking in my head, like, are my numbers not right? Right?
Really?
You really,
Yeah.
you didn't have an idea what a P&L model was.
No, but I mean, yeah. So, like I said, there was that full transparency, that little broker that I started working for in 1992. And, I knew the way it was. Hey, here's the rate sheet from our investor. You need to collect 1.5 points, and we'll give you 0.5 point, right? That's what it was. I mean, I think the margins were different back then, but
Yeah.
we're going to collect 1.5 points. You get 0.5, we get 1 point. And back then, we shared in gains and losses. So if you collect 2 points, you get 3/4. We get 1.25. That kind of thing. And I knew what I was making and what they were making off of that deal. And I think that's what I always thought, it was somewhere along those lines still. And I'd get these, solicitations from people. We pay the highest commissions, and, we pay 225 basis points alone. And I'm thinking, how could you possibly pay 225 basis points alone and do any business? I mean, what are you charging, 9% for a 30-year fix or something? I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I think that there is more money in the typical loan that gets split with the company and the loan officer than a lot of people realized. And
yeah, I think once
the company
again,
is making a bigger split than that point that, I had in my head that's how it worked.
yeah, I remember the days when it used to be percentage, you know what I mean? Like 50-50, and then if you did this, and you get 60-40, and then
Yeah.
there was like Eric Weinstein with Cartwright Mortgage, who was doing like 90-10 or whatever, and then it was all these different numbers floating around. It was always percentages. It wasn't like this, I'm going to give you a flat 125. I'm going to give you a flat 75, whatever the number is, right?
Right.
And then if anything over that belongs to and I remember when this first came out in 2010, I told a friend of mine, I said, you understand the lenders are going to start making a lot more money. Once they can fix your commission on a flat scale, they now know that that's a fixed cost for them. It's no longer a fluctuating cost.
Right.
So percentages I felt was more fair, and then obviously sharing the losses was definitely more fair.
Yeah.
I know that we can't do that anymore. But all right, so listen, so you did not have a clue about the P&L model with all your years in the business. One of the biggest conceptions I think people, for me, that I, as a recruiter that I am for homecomings, right, is that people don't understand. First of all, they think it's a franchise. I think that's one thing, and that they got to put up the first $80,000 or $100,000 to open an office. So we know that that's not a true statement,
Right.
right? Because I think you put up $0,
Right.
and then you were given this branch because you can bring in X amount of produced results for us that we know that can occur. So it's not like we're making this investment for everybody, but we are doing it for proven people in the mortgage business. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you told me too. This is not an opportunity we give to everybody. It's not just,
Yeah. I mean, you
loan
can't.
officer looking to move. Everybody doesn't get a P&L model. I mean, and you were fair about it. I mean, honestly, you said right off the beginning, like, hey, listen, you can do whatever you want. I mean, if your volume is enough that you could have your own branch and just have your own branch and be yourself. But if you really want to grow it, you need to recruit and bring people in. And just sort of scaling that up, the more I thought about it, I mean, even just not doing that, I would make more money, with the P&L model because I'm retaining more of the earnings and stuff like that. But
Yeah. I think it was Andrew Carnegie who said, I would rather have 1% of 100 people than 100% of me.
it's a good quote.
And so it's just something that it's always been stuck inside my head, right?
Yeah.
So let's dive into this. The P&L model, and people who don't understand it, we're trying to get them to understand that there's no investment required, right? It's
Sure.
basically your production. Not everyone's going to qualify with at least Homecoming. There are other lenders out there that may give them a P&L model. I get that, right?
Yeah.
But the one we're giving, we're not going to give to every particular loan officer just because you have a license and you did X amount of millions of dollars last year. Like, okay, Fab, you said on this podcast you'd give it to me. So we don't give it to everybody, right? You do got to qualify for it, right?
Yeah.
But you do get a certain amount of control, and I think you said that early on.
Yeah. And that's something that, I've always felt like forever. If I needed something on a loan, I had to ask somebody for it. And can you do this for me? I'm really fighting to get this deal. Can you help me? And now I get to make that decision myself.
Yeah.
Is this worth doing this for this realtor or for this relationship?
Yeah.
And what can I do and still be profitable and still help people out? And I obviously don't want to do loans for free or lose money on them, but just a little bit more flexibility and more control over your own book of business, really.
And I mean, and that control goes into also hiring loan officers.
Sure.
Like, you can choose the compensation plan that you feel is appropriate for that LO.
Yep.
There's no, hey, this is what we go. Like, I know when I was at Carrington Mortgage, I don't ever mind saying names because they've already done what they were going to do to me, right? But we had a flat schedule, right? This is our commission schedule, and I don't care if you're in Kentucky or in Orange County. This is our compensation model.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. It just didn't work because loan amounts might be smaller in Kentucky. And so they're not going to make as much money as guy in Orange County, where the average loan back in those days was like 480. It's probably way higher now, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing $80,000 loans in Kentucky.
Yeah. But it's funny you said that. Like I was just thinking back the other day when I first started working, the Fannie Mae loan limit was 113,000 or something like that.
Yeah, 107, I think, right?
I got a $400,000 loan if I could hit the lottery. Now the Fannie Mae limit's 806 something.
Yeah,
806 600.
I mean, think about it, even the high value, you could in our area, you could go up in the DC Metro, you could go over $1 million, like 1.2, something like that.
1.2, $1,209,000, something like that. It's insane.
Yeah.
It seems insane, but I mean, it's what it is. I mean, it's hard to can't even find a townhouse in this area for $500,000 anymore. So it's crazy.
I think it just comes with the territory, right? Wherever you're located, and once again, that goes back to having that fixed compensation plan.
Sure.
If you're working for a company that has one model and
doesn't fit every area, right?
It doesn't fit every area. You know what I mean? And so that's where I think having control over your P&L and saying, hey, Fob, look, this person, they do very small loan amounts, but they're all FHA loans. So maybe we could go up to 140 for them. You know what I mean? Because their average loan amount is 245,000 versus a guy whose average loan amount is 780,000. Well, maybe we don't want to go that high, and they're all conventional.
Right.
And so those are the kind of flexibilities I think I felt when I moved into the P&L space.
Yeah, you can tailor it to the individual and the area, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, you're not kind of beholden to what the corporate guy came out with one day and then never changed, because every time you ask about compensation change, they always tell you all the expenses.
Right. Yeah.
That used to happen to me all the time. No. It's like I just want to give more commission to this guy because the loan amounts are lower. Well, you don't understand. It's the same amount of cost to support them. I get that.
Right.
Not stupid, but we won't get this group if we don't give more loan. And so, hey, I don't want to go down that story.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah, man. So let me understand. Like, when you are talking to loan officers, are you able to articulate like this is the benefit of working with Homecomings better? Not better. Is there a significant difference to them versus working at another company?
I feel like it is, and I've been like you said, I've been articulating out and talking to people because to me, I'm learning new stuff every day, right? But it's a bigger company than I was working for before. There's a lot more resources sort of all around with technology and stuff like that, and tools that are provided to help me and my loan officers grow and do business. Before I, was finding a lot of tools myself that I was using in my own business that the company didn't provide, and had never heard of and stuff. Like I was using list reports for a couple of years on my own, and then they got MMI, so that I kept both for a while and then just switched just to MMI. But sort of all that stuff is here already, and a lot of things that we didn't have and that I never had.
If you go back to being a loan officer, man, like don't be the branch manager, Taylor. Imagine
no. I'm just saying, for me, it's awesome. Like
I just want to know, like, if you're a loan officer, what is the one technology that you just absolutely love as a loan officer?
I would say any of the things like list reports or Redder or whatever, that really changed the way I approach my business and trying to grow my business. Like way back in the day, I used to go, I'm sure a lot of people still do this, would go to my closings, and, I want to be there and shake hands and meet everybody. And back then everybody came together for the closings, the buyer and the seller and their agent, and I would hand my card to the other agent and say, hey, please feel free to call me anytime. You know what a good job I did, because I got in the closing. It was smooth. It was easy. It was great. And nobody ever called me. So now when I get a contract, when I try to get my agents to let me know when they're presenting a contract, right? Because I'm giving them a pre-approval letter, and just let me know when you're faxing this over. I'm not faxing anymore, right? Emailing this over to the listing agent, because I want to give them a call and let them know how solid this approval is and stuff like that. Help them get their contract ratified. But at the same time, even when I'm doing that, I'm looking up the listing agent and I'm looking up what kind of business they're doing. And, I kind of have a feeling for what to expect on that phone call, somewhat based on their volume. This person closed 3 deals last year or 30, and then if they close 30, first off, I'm going to treat them both the same way. But if they close 30 and we get ratified, even if we don't get ratified, I might be calling them afterwards and saying, hey, I love talking to you. Could we go grab a coffee or something like that? I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how we work.
So
you're ratified.
You're actually using the data that you're given.
Using that information that's available that I never had available before, 2 years ago or something, and saying, hey, look, I see that you're really busy, and I think that I work a little bit differently. I can show you some ways that I can help you grow your business and make things easier for you. We have a specific way that we work. Can I meet with you for coffee and just tell you a little bit about what we do and find out a little bit what made you so successful? Obviously you've done something to grow your business. I'd love, even if it's just we learn a little bit from each other and say hi and bye, and that's it. Maybe we end up working together. But, instead of waiting to the closing table and saying, here's my card, and they never call me, I'm trying to establish that relationship with the other listing agent right off the bat and grow that. And then they see me doing what I said I was going to do throughout the process of keeping them informed and stuff like that. And hopefully they'll become a loan partner with us or a referral partner.
Yeah. It's interesting. Listen, we're coming to the end here. I don't want to go too much longer, but here's the thing. Every time someone mentions your name, like, how'd you get, like, even this morning at the breakfast, by the way, your name came up. Like, how'd you guys get Taylor? I don't know. We presented an offer that like I always tell people, like, if we make an offer and it's good for both parties, then normally it's going to come through, right?
Yeah.
The misconception people have about you, right, in the industry, just FYI, is Taylor's got to have a team behind him.
Really?
Because most producers, 40, 50, $60 million, right, have teams that are underneath the loan officer, someone who's doing the pre-qual, someone who's then doing this and this and this. How many people are underneath you right now or have been?
One.
And that is your
assistant loan partner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did past few years just to help out with setting up files and getting them into processing and stuff like that. I'm still pre-qualifying everybody myself and all that kind of stuff.
So how do you make the time? Like, what's the one nugget you could teach a loan officer? Let's say that some LO is at 25 million, right? And they want to get to that extra 15 million next year. Could you share a nugget like without having to invest in a more human resources? Like, what could they do and still attain that goal?
without having any extra stuff, just doing their own thing.
Yes.
Concentrate on trying to work with producing realtors and make sure that you're qualifying those things, so that you're not working with. I don't think that's my phone.
No, that's sorry.
So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When I get a new contract and I look at the listing agent and they did 2 deals last year, I'm going to be nice to them, be great, put in my CRM, but I'm not going to call them every week and ask for business. There's no reason for me to call them and remind them they're not doing anything. But if they're producing, try to make a focused effort to go after them to get more business. Because
what do you consider a profitable agent? How many units buy side are you looking for?
8 a year at least.
8 a year. Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, I mean, just think about this as a nugget, right? Because I don't want this just to be about homecomings and come join us homecomings. I want you to get a nugget here, right? If you're talking to agents that are doing less than 8 units a year, you're probably not going to be able to get to that magic number that you're trying to get to. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, of course. And if I work with realtors who are doing less than 8 a year, right? And I support them just like I do anybody else, but I'm not going to call them every week and update them and ask them for stuff. And it's a different sort of, maybe once a month call.
Even if you're trying to get a brand new agent, that's your criteria is what I'm getting.
Brand new agent, I want somebody who's doing 8 deals a year or more.
Yeah. So if they're doing 4 or 5, that's great. And maybe you'll be nice to them, right? Obviously, if they want to send you more business, that's great.
Of course.
But you're looking for the 8+. Yeah. If they're doing 20 units, what happens? You take them out to dinner, cruise ship, all that stuff.
No, same thing. It's funny because I've looked up people and have that initial phone call with them and stuff, and I see people doing 20 units a year and they work with 18 different loan officers.
Yeah.
The conversation with them might be like, hey, look, you're doing so much business, and you got to keep track of all these different things in all these different places. How's that working out for you? How much easier would your life be if you were working with 2 or 3 loan officers, and we could touch base twice a week on your files and just let you know what's going on, and you'd be so much more informed. And I'll keep you're going to know what you're getting because I'm going to keep your clients informed, and I'm going to call the listing agent every week and tell them where the loan file is, so you're not getting a call from an agent and a borrower saying, when's my appraisal going to get done, and blah, blah, blah. And it frees them up to do more business. And they don't, I mean, obviously the people that are doing 20 deals a year and they're working with 17 different loan officers, they haven't figured that out yet. But that could take them from the 20 deals a year to the 30 deals a year next step, because they don't need to spend time working on our stuff or worrying about our stuff. They need to spend more time selling houses.
Guys, if you get nothing out of this show, if you don't want to figure out what a P&L model is, if you don't care about working with me and Taylor, we get it. That's your decision. No big deal. The nugget though, man, is work with agents that are actually producing. Find a number. Taylor's is 8 or more. Find out where your number is. Go after the agents that are going to actually produce results for you. Is that a fair statement, Taylor?
Yeah. And it's something, it took me a long time to learn that. I think like most people, when I got into business, it's back in the day, I would get in my car and I would drive around 5 days a week, driving to real estate offices. I try to hit 10 offices a day and talk to realtors, at the front desk or at their desk. I first 10 years, I didn't realize the ones that I was talking to were in the office answering the phone because they weren't doing any business.
Looking for free donuts.
Yeah. I got bought a house 2 years after I started working out of college. It's something, it worked, but it took me a long time to learn how to maximize my efforts and concentrate them on the people who are doing the business. It's going to be easier for us both to do more business.
It's such a powerful lesson, man. I hope people really, really understand what Taylor just shared with them. And so if you want to be a top producing loan officer, you want to get results, it's really about the network you create. And we're all reflections of our network. And so guys, with that, Taylor, we'll get you on another episode really quickly. We'll dive more back into homecomings, the P&L model, and all sorts of fun stuff. But thanks, brother. Love having you on here.
Yeah, you got it. Happy to be here. Thanks, Bobby.
See ya.
Yep.
And